Welcome everyone to the second episode of Movie Nerds Club. Today me and my friends are giving you our top 5 horror movies of the 2010s. Me, Rachel Wagner, Elsie Screen Talk, mainly movies, Ryan Cam. We are all doing our top 5s. Their links are in the description, so check out their videos and share your top 5 in the comments below. This is mine. 4 reasons I did not include horror comedies. I feel like that could be a list in its own. So without any further ado, let's talk about it. And before the proper top 5 stars, I actually have quite a few honorable mentions this time. The Conjuring 2 for me was a huge surprise. As someone who was not a big fan of the original Conjuring, I love this movie to no end, and it's my favorite one in the franchise. Train to Busan, take it from someone who has not enjoyed the zombie franchise since like 2010, but then 2016 in came this Korean horror zombie movie on the train. It has all the thrills and all the adrenaline you can expect, and it takes it up a notch. It brought life back to this subgenre in horror, and I really love it. Gerald's Game was a Netflix original directed by Michael Flanagan based on a Stephen King short story, I believe, and it surprised me to no end. It is one of the most intense thriller horrors that I saw in all of the past decade, and it stands up today. Lights Out as well. I saw the trailers for this film. I did not enjoy it. I went into this film expecting to really not like it, to think at most it was okay, but it's from David F. Sandberg based on the short that brought him to prominence, and it's a really great movie. And of course, it stars Teresa Palmer, who is a very underrated actress. And last but not least, in my honorable mentions, a movie that would have made it to my top 5 had it not been for a certain movie that I just remembered at the last minute. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is one of the creepiest movies you will ever see in your life. I really don't want to tell you anything about this film. This is a film that is best served to you if you go in as blind as you possibly can. It is so anti-cliche, it is so out there, but it's seriously very creepy. You will not want to go and walk home alone at night ever again. At number 5, a movie that I'm sure I love more than anyone else, Don't Breathe, is fantastic. Fede Alvarez did such an amazing job at creating this claustrophobia and atmosphere within this house, putting you in a place where you don't exactly know who you root for, either the robbers or the blind man. You're kind of rooting for the blind man at first because the robbers are kind of assholes, but then you find out something about this blind man and it takes a whole new meaning the entire film, and it stands up. I'm actually very afraid for the supposed sequel that's coming out, but no matter what, this film, it's excellent. Watch Don't Breathe if you haven't. And I will take this opportunity to plug Jane Levy, who is in this film, and she's in one of the best shows of this past year, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. Watch that. It's not horror, but I felt like I wanted to plug it. At number 4, we have It Follows, a film that I think as well I love more than most people, even though I know there are other people out there who also love it. This film takes the most creative way at approaching STDs and makes it into a movie monster. This film made so many people not wanting to have sexual relations ever again, but that eventually faded out, obviously. But it's seriously a fantastic film. The pacing is amazing. The way it shows the monster is amazing. The main performance from Maika Monroe is sensational. This film is horror to a T. It is very slow-paced, and not the most slow-paced movie we'll talk about in this list, but one that makes it very gratifying once you reach the end of the story and you have gone through all these situations with the main character. At number 3, we have a movie that might surprise some of you, and that is It Chapter 1. The 2017 It is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. The child performances are amazing. The scares are sensational. There is nothing cheap about the exploration of fear that is set in this film. I love the atmosphere. I love the performances. I love the writing. I love Pennywise in this film. I know that's exactly the opposite of the point, but I kind of love him as an adult. If I watched this as a child, I would sure be shit scared watching this film. He's one of the creepiest villains I've ever seen, and he actually made clowns creepy for me. I finally understand people that are afraid of clowns because I saw this film, and it's amazing to see the genuine arcs that our group of losers go in throughout this film. I seriously think it's top 3 Stephen King adaptations ever made. At number 2, we have the somewhat expected The Babadook. This film exploded and brought Jennifer Kent's name to prominence, and in the meantime, she also directed The Nightingale, which is not exactly horror, but is a very, very heavy and unsettling movie. The Babadook takes grief and sorrow and explores those emotions and the process of grieving through the guise of a movie monster, and it is seriously one of the creepiest and most frightening movie monsters you will ever see. The kid is annoying. Yes, he is. That is the point. He annoys me too, but I enjoy that he does, because then when it comes time for you to care about him and the mother, you do care about him and the mother. And the Babadook, seriously, I will never have the balls to actually read that book because it is so out there, the things that they do with this monster, and it was such an amazing debut for Jennifer Kent, bringing her name into prominence again and showing how horror can be reinvigorated with new, fresh voices. And at number 1, the least surprising movie you'll see in this list if you have known me for a medium period of time. If you've known me for like a year, you'll know what's coming. It's The Witch, the film that brought Robert Eggers' name into prominence. This is not only my favorite horror movie of this past decade, it is one of my favorite horror movies ever made. It's like top 10 for me, top 5 most likely. This film is seriously good. Of all the films I've listed, this is the most slow-paced one, it's the most rewarding one, it's the creepiest one, it's the most unsettling one, it's the one that leaves you most uncomfortable. I'm someone who is not squeamish or anything about horror movies. I watch horror movies, even the best ones, and I'm like, yeah, I'm enjoying everything about it. The Witch left me unsettled. I was moving around on my couch, I was trying to look away at some points, but I wanted to watch the movie. It is a masterclass in horror filmmaking. The atmosphere, the characters, the themes that it discusses, the environment around them, the witch herself, you barely see her at all in this film, and it is so rewarding when you get to the end and see what all of this comes to and how everything converges together. The ending of this film still leaves me thinking about it to this day, and I saw it for the first time as soon as it came out. The Witch is a masterpiece. I'm not afraid to say that. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. As a whole, it is one of my top 5 favorite horror movies ever, and for sure, without any question, this is the one that is my favorite and I consider the best horror movie from the 2010s. So that's my list. Those are my top 5 horror movies of the decade. Let me know your top 5 movies of the 2010s in the comments below, and check out my friends' videos as well and their top 5, and let them know what you thought about their top 5. And if you agree, if you disagree, let's share the love for horror. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This has been a lot of fun so far. I can't wait to bring you episode 3 of Movie Nerds Club with all of my friends as well. Again, check them out. The links are in the description. And so until the next video, remember to stay beautiful, stay geeky, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video because it really helps me and the channel out. But most importantly, above everything else, forever and always, love each other and love the movies.